Hello and welcome to the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. I'm John Milewski, host of Dialogue. We're on the set of Dialogue, and we've just completed a really interesting discussion on new technologies and the role they play in democracy movements. And one of the people joining me is Christian Osterman, familiar to fans of Dialogue. Christian has been with the center for a long time, and Christian is the Director of European Studies here, among other things. And Christian, we have a special guest, and I'm going to let you introduce him based on first telling us about the Jan Ratziu Award.
Thank you, John. The Jan Ratziu Award recognizes the accomplishments of democracy activists, those who work on behalf of democracy around the world, celebrating the life of Jan Ratziu, a leading Romanian intellectual and emigre politician who throughout his life worked on trying to effect change in Romania, which of course, since 1946 was under communist dictatorship. He spent a few years in Washington. Those were very important to him. And so what we've tried to do, we've partnered up with the Ratziu Foundation and the Ratziu Democracy Center, and through the Jan Ratziu Award, try to give emerging and senior democracy activists from around the world just a little bit of the experience, we hope, that Jan Ratziu had here in the 1970s and 80s to interact with the Washington think tank, policy, and scholarly community and take advantage of some of the resources we have here at the center and in Washington, and to hopefully support them in their work. And so we've been delighted to have Oleg Kozlovsky here, leading democracy activist from Russia, co-founder of a number of important movements and institutions, including Solidarność, including Oborona, an important youth movement in Russia. Oleg organized major demonstrations in Russia and has tirelessly worked on behalf of democracy there, not just there, but also in Belarus and other countries in the region. And so he's, we're just so honored to have him here as our awardee this year.
Oleg, congratulations on the award, and thanks for being with us. Tell us, if people are not really familiar with the set of circumstances you're dealing with in Russia, give them a sense of how close we're talking about a country that's evolving into a democratic nation or a country that's regressing and becoming more like the Soviet Union was with different names.
Well, we definitely are not going in the democratic direction. Unfortunately, neither under Putin nor now under Dmitry Medvedev, Russia hasn't come closer. In fact, we are getting farther from democracy. It's not Soviet Union, it's different. It's a kind of a new wave, a new generation autocracy.
Another thing is, I was reading some of your blog posts before we got together today. Could you tell our viewers the story about when you were trying to leave the country and we're getting the runaround on your credentials and how the new technologies came into play in helping you expedite the situation?
Well, just in January of this year, I had to renew my passport to travel, and in just a few weeks after that, I had to go to the United States to give here a lecture at a college, and my passport had to be prepared. But in fact, what I was told in the Federal Immigration Service is that FSB, the Federal Security Service, didn't give the clearance yet, and they asked me to wait for nobody knows how long, for months or maybe more than a year, they said.
And you had to leave within 10 days.
Yeah, and I had to leave within 10 days. And when I went to the prosecutor, he said, yeah, it's definitely a violation of the law, but there is nothing we can do in such a short term. So what I did, I just posted this story in my blog, hoping that it will somehow help me organize a campaign, not just in my defense, but it is, in fact, a very usual practice. And the other day, I get a call from the Immigration Service, and they asked me to come, and they printed the passport just before my eyes. And it worked because, still because of conventional media, they read my blog and they reported on this story.
So they amplified what you did through new media,
Yes,
the old media.
Exactly.
Christian, is there a historical precedent, put on your historian cap here, and is there a historical precedent for this type of technological breakthrough and how it empowers an individual?
You know, there's a difficulty with historical precedents, but perhaps the closest thing would be the importance of Western radio stations during the Cold War that used radio technology to
Radio Free Europe, things
Radio
like that.
Free Europe, Voice of America, BBC, Radio in the American Sector in Berlin, a whole set of stations who, from the early 1950s on, broadcast information about the world out there to people behind the Iron Curtain who had very, very, very limited ways to get information, unbiased, uncensored information about what was happening around the world and in their country. So certainly the old media in terms of radios and TV played an important role in the changes that took place in the 1980s behind the Iron Curtain in the Soviet bloc and eventually led to the fall of communism.
By the time this discussion is seen on our MHZ network or here on YouTube, you'll have been on a plane and back to Russia. What are you taking home with you that will be most useful from your experience here?
Well, I met here with a lot of experts, policymakers, journalists, and I think I got a better understanding of both the US policy towards Russia and the general prospects for democracy. I think it is not a good time for democracy that we are living in, and we had several consecutive years of decline in democracy, but I hope that there is a growing understanding that this is a problem not just important for the people living in under dictatorships. It is a growing problem also for many democracies, because living in a democratic world is more secure, and I think that I will also bring to Russia the recognition of the work that we are doing, the work that the Russian democratic movement is doing, and it's very important for us to see that we're not alone, that we have people who support our cause.
Well, gentlemen, as we enter a new year, let's hope that those trend lines start to go in the other direction. And thank you for your continued good work in that regard.
Thank you.
If you'd like to hear more from our guests, and they certainly have more to say, come to our website, www.wilsoncenter.org. Look on the right-hand top of the screen. You'll see a tab for dialogue. Click there, and you can see a complete 30-minute interview with Christian and Oleg. Thanks.